So this video is specifically for people that offer detailing services or plan to offer detailing services, specifically paint correction or any type of exterior enhancement type services to your customers. I want to start doing a lot more paint correction type videos in terms of just like how to technical and all that jazz. But I first wanted to make probably the most important part before any of that is the fundamentals of offering, again, if you're doing this as a business, offering paint correction services or paint polishing services to your customers based off you doing it as a hobby and you doing it as a professional. And what I mean by that is that a lot of you detailers are starting your business, if you're offering paint correction services, is that you're very, you love doing it on your vehicle, you've done it on a couple of your friends or other personal vehicles, and you just love polishing paint and removing those swords and scratches to really bring out that gloss and shine in a vehicle's paint. But the huge disconnect is that every time you go out to polish a vehicle, your mind is completely fixated on I have to go for 80-90% removal, when in reality the customer is only asking for like a wash and wax, and you're like forcing yourself, telling yourself like you have to go and remove as much as you can purely for the fact that you enjoy it the most, and that you're gonna disregard like how much money they're paying or how much time it's gonna take you, just because you don't have the self-discipline to say, okay, look, the customer's paying for this, I can only do this, even though it's not 80-90% removal, I'm gonna keep on going because I like it and I can't leave a vehicle not looking perfection or close to perfection. So this video is going to cover that. So here behind me is just a very scientific diagram that I put together. So essentially picture these as the scratches, right? I was gonna try to do like actual before and afters or actually capture it with the camera and stuff and the light, but that was too cumbersome, so I figured let me just exaggerate it, and these will be scratches. Picture these as scratches on a vehicle's paint. So before we get into the explanation, answer me this: if a patient goes into a dental office and they're going in for their 6-month cleaning, right? Most people should go twice a year, right? If they're going in for their 6-month cleaning, just the maintenance cleaning in their mouth, right? And then they find out that they have gingivitis, that they have 2 cavities, and they need to do quite extensive work in their mouth in order to keep it clean and healthy for years to come. But the patient, their insurance is only going to cover the maintenance cleaning. They don't have the extra money to pay off whatever the insurance can't pay, and they only want the maintenance cleaning. Is the dentist and the dental practice, are they going to do all the extra work to clean their mouth, to bring it back to as good as they can get it for years to come so it's nice and healthy? Are they gonna do all that extra work as much as they want to, as much as they love making sure teeth are clean, as much as their skill set is? Are they gonna do the extra work to rid as much of, are they gonna do a deep cleaning and remove those cavities and fill it in with a crown or whatever they do? Are they gonna go their extra mile to do that at no additional cost to the patient, just because that's what they do and that's what they want to do with every single patient? No, of course not. They have to get the insurance, they have to be compensated, and they have to make sure they do everything correctly, or if not, the practice is not going to make enough money to keep the business alive, to keep the practice alive. It's the same principles. That's not right here. It's the same principles with any business, not just detailing, but any business. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, because a customer is not compensating you properly for the services you're about to render out. So most vehicles are going to be here, right? They're going to have all these nasty scratches and swirls and rids and all these, holograms and dirt and bird poo and whatever you can imagine in their vehicle, right? So 95%, and this is just made up numbers, but 95% of vehicles are this manner, right? Completely trash, never taken care of, always running it through a car wash, improper drying, all this jazz, right? And let's say even if you did a wash and wax on it, let's be conservative and let's give it 10% removal, or at least not removal, but you're hiding 10% of the really light swirls and scratches, right? And let's say for a wash and a wax, right, it's gonna be, and these are all made up numbers. Don't think like I didn't put any thought into this. I just made up a number on price and made a number on how long it'll actually take. So don't be too strict with these numbers. These are just for example purposes. I didn't think about anything with these numbers, so they may be completely off. So let's say for a wash and wax, it's going to take you 2 hours and you're going to charge $120, right? And that's going to give you a 10% increase in removing those and hiding those swirls and scratches, right? The very light swirls and scratches. So it's still going to be complete trash, but hey, it is going to look a bit shinier, and there's going to be some protection to whatever extent that matters at this point. Then you have the second part, right? Which is, let's say this is about 60% removal. So let's say it was once this with and then we're able to get it to the 60% removal. Let's say 4% of vehicles are like this, right? Most of them are going to be trashed. Maybe a few select cars that either have been properly maintained, that were polished at least, or at least have some type of like all-in-one or a one-step paint polishing process on them, has about 60% removal on the paintwork, right? So it looks a lot better, not completely trashed, but it does look a lot better, a lot shinier, a lot glossier. And let's say for this one, if you did an all-in-one and a paint correct and or a one-step to get it to this condition of 60% removal, let's say it's 300 buckaroos and it takes 4 hours to complete. All right, so for the wash and wax, you don't get much improvement in terms of the swirls and scratches, but it is shinier. It's going to take 2 hours and you're going to charge 120. For an all-in-one or a one-step to get it to 60%, it's going to look a lot better. Not perfect, but a lot better. It's going to be 300 buckaroos at 4 hours, right? Then let's say if you really want to take it up a notch, what all of us want to do, and you want to get it to 80-90% removal, right? That's what everyone wants to go after. They want to spend all that time and energy, use all those skills and tools that you have to get it to 80 or 90% removal. And let's be honest, less than 1% of vehicles on planet Earth are in this condition, right? That are actually like driving on, on the road. They're not going to be like this. But let's say to get 80% removal of the imperfections in the paint, which is going to be, let's say, a two-step, let's say maybe a little bit of wet sanding. It's going to be, let's say, $700 and 10 hours to complete. Again, these are all made up numbers. No science behind it. These aren't my numbers. These are just made up random numbers. So the problem with that is that it's fine if you have a customer paying you $700 and it's going to take you 10 hours to complete this, right? It's fine if someone's paying you to do this level of work. The problem arises is that when a customer is going to pay you for this level of work, but you're delivering this level of work, there's a huge disconnect between what the customer can offer, what the customer can afford, which is the 3 hours, but you want to deliver the $700 service because you don't have the self-discipline to say, you know what, as much as I can keep on going to get a better finish, to make it look that much better, I have to stop here because this is what the customer can afford from me at this time. And I see it so many times across YouTube where there's videos where people will show a condition like this and they bring it down to this. And then that video will get so many comments and so much hate saying, you could have gone this result if you would have done this method or this technique, or if you would have spent more time here or there, or if you would have changed this up. And the reality is that not many vehicles, not many customers care about this level of service. Again, if you have the customer compensating you properly and giving you the time and money, of course, to reach this level of quality, that is fine. More power to you. And you can find customers out there that are happy to pay for these services. But again, less than 1% of vehicles on planet Earth probably are at this level that are actually driving on the road. So not your typical average consumer that wants to take care of their car, even if they love their vehicle, is not going to immediately go for this level of work. One, it costs a lot, right? It's going to be more expensive than your typical wax or one step, just because, you're going to compound, you're going to polish. It takes more time. That's just the way it goes. On top of that, it's also a lot more time to complete the vehicle. If you have a shop and you're going for an extensive level of work, you're probably going to keep it for more than a day if you're by yourself. If you're two people, you can easily knock this out in a couple of hours. So if you're looking to start a business, and specifically because you want to offer paint correction services, you cannot get stuck on saying most cars are like this and I want to put them here. You cannot have the mentality, because the reality is that's impractical. How do you say that word? It is not realistic to always think every customer that gives you this type of vehicle is going to want this level of quality when they can only afford either of these two options, and you still want to go for that option. So when you're looking to offer paint correction services, and if you are currently doing that, make sure that you're matching your level of quality to the amount of money they're willing to pay for you, or for your services, I should say. And I know this video is gonna not vibe well with many people or detailers or weekend warrior detailers that are so fixated on saying, well, you know what, if you're offering this service, you should never cheat out the customer. You should always give it, 110%. Go the extra mile. If you don't do perfection, then you're a scam, or you're a hack, or you're not a true professional. That is so far not business that they're like, it's just so not realistic to have that mentality. And if you do, if you're just one person, like just you doing this as a business, as your full-time job or as your part-time gig, just side hustle, then you can perhaps get away with saying, you know what, you're only charging $200, $200. I'm gonna stay there for 7 hours. I just like it, I'm not really too worried about. Okay, at that point, sure, not big of a deal. You can handle that. I still wouldn't advise it or recommend it, but sure, you can get away with it because you're not really taking it that serious. You don't really need it. It's more of an enjoyment or a hobby type deal than like you're actually trying to progress this as an actual business or actual profitable business. Sure, that's fine. Go with it. It is completely false, wrong, should not do whatsoever if you're legitimately trying to build a business and eventually at some point hire at least one helper in the next 2 years. Let me give you an example. Let's say, again, I'm making these numbers up completely all together, so don't think anything is hard science or anything. Let's say you want to make $50 an hour, right? And you're going to be there for 10 hours on this paint correction job. So let's just say you're going to multiply 550 times 10. Can you see that? 50 times 10, and that's going to give you $500 because that's 50 times 10, right? So you're saying, okay, I'm going to be there for 10 hours. I'm going to make $500. Great. Now, if you can't get perfection within that time, you're going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to stay here another 2 hours, another 3 hours, right? So because I really want to get the paint perfect. Even though that's not what they're paying you for, you're going to go over that budget to reach that $10, to reach that perfection or that level of quality that you're looking for. So in reality, if you're like, if you want to be legit and you're looking to actually do this as a business long term and you want to make sure you're going to run a profitable business, let's be realistic. And if you're in the US, you pay 35% in taxes on whatever you make. Whatever comes in, 35% of that goes to Mr. Uncle Sam. So let's say out of that 500 buckaroos, right, that you want to make $50 an hour, off the top, 175, can you see that? 175 goes to taxes. So let's do some basic math here, guys. Let's do can you see that? 500 minus, what I say, 175 is 325. So before you take any money, or however you set that up, 175, which is going to the IRS, and if you're in the US, 325 is what you're keeping before overhead, before your expenses. So before you're able to actually pocket that, you don't actually pocket this 325. And let's say if you've even done this much work in your business, let's say, on a per day basis for your overhead to keep your business alive, which is like, let's say like car insurance or your shop, whatever insurance you have, your phone bill, a few software tools that you have. Let's say that on a per day basis of the year, of the days you're working per the year, if you even figured that out yet, let's say it's $50. Let's say $35. Let's be real easy. Let's say $35 per day that you work over the course of the year. You know that you need at least $35 per day for overhead expenses, right? Let's just say that. Let's just say $35. So what we'll do, 325 minus 35. So for that day of, if you work those 10 hours at $50 an hour, between the taxes and overhead, you've now went from $500 for that day. Let's say you charge $500, but you're, after overhead and taxes, you're at $290. So and then again, let's say you spend an extra 2 hours, just 2 hours, because you want to like work on the hood and the roof. Let's just say you spent an extra 2 hours. That means you depleted your hourly rate. I'm not gonna make the math because I'm lost where I'm at now. But you've depleted your hourly rate of what you can actually make to like in the low 20s. So that's why if it's just you by yourself, sure, you can somewhat get away with it if it's just a hobby, if you have more fun and the money is just just another pro to doing this. But if you're legitimately trying to run a business, a profitable business, and you're actually at some point want to hire someone so you can take on more work and such, you have to be very conscious of how much time you're spending on a vehicle, how much you're collecting, your overhead, which is taxes and all that stuff, to really know how much money you're making. A lot of you guys, business owners, anyone, is going out there thinking you're raking in X amount of money, but after taxes and expenses and overhead and all that, you're making this much money. And because it's you or a one-man job or you're two people or part-time, like, you think like, okay, it's okay, like I'm still making this money. But in reality, you're probably spending more money. You're wasting money being there and spending that extra time and not making nowhere near as much money. And possibly you're losing out on a lot of money because you're there longer and longer. So it's not about like don't go for perfection. It's go for perfection if the customer is paying for that. It's not saying don't go extra on every customer. It's making sure you're going over on a customer's vehicle when you know it can fit in properly. Of course, there's gonna be those times where like you're just gonna be, you just want to do good things because you want to do something nice or free for this one customer for whatever reason. But you have to know like you have this thing called money, and there's a certain amount of that you need every single day in order to keep your business alive. And if you're not watching out for that number, you think you're doing great and like, oh look, we're getting so many customers now and my phone's ringing and we're booked out for the week. At the same time though, your finances could be going like this in terms of your business staying alive, yet you think you're going like this because your business is getting booked out. Just because you have more customers and more money coming in does not mean you're actually making more money, especially with a service-based business. As you get more customers, your cost is gonna equally go up as well because you need more towels, because you're putting more mileage on your van, because you're keeping your lights on more, because you're at a shop, because you need whatever. Like as you get more customers and growth does not necessarily mean more profitability and more money in your pocket. It means now you have to be more conscious about what it is you're doing on a day-to-day operations to make sure you're still remaining profitable. This video kind of went wayside, but it's that this is the core truth of like paint correction services and any service at that, but more specifically paint correction in this specific video. So hopefully that made sense. I'll be making more paint correction type videos on polishing, compounding, anything that you can think of in the near future. But I wanted to start off with this video as I know as I make these videos on paint correction, there's gonna be a lot of haters saying you're a scam, you're a hack, you didn't finish it, I would never do that to a customer, you're whatever. There's gonna be so many comments on that because I see so many of those comments now on other videos, and it's just like the most foolish, unbusiness, unrealistic thing to go after if you're not actually doing this as a business. So hopefully this video helped. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you on the next one.